Welcome to No Prize Podcast. This is the professor. That's Johnny. That's Lucas. Hey, it's the end of the summer. This is our last summer episode of No Prize Podcast. We'll be into the fall next month. But go ahead, Johnny.
Are you ready for some football?
Football is in the air. The next time we're talking will be a day before the season kicks off, yeah?
Yes, pumpkin spice season, man. Pumpkin spice season.
Everybody's team dreams of the Super Bowl the day before they play.
It's my favorite time of year. So, but we have to get through the end of August here before we do anything. So, the saving grace of the end of August is we have finally some new content to talk about on the Star Wars end of things. Disney Plus drops Ahsoka, the first 2 episodes.
Do you guys see the thing that I'm trying to show on your end, or?
It's not showing up on the thing.
Weird. Okay, let's continue. I try to figure out what's going on here.
Oh, well, everybody use your imagination so you can see Ahsoka in your brain. And I'm sure if you're watching this, I'm sure you've watched the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. But if not, there's I guess some required viewing perhaps for Ahsoka. You don't need to just have watched The Mandalorian season 2. Mm-hmm. Maybe you needed to watch Rebels. Maybe you needed to watch Clone Wars. Maybe you needed to kind of catch your ass up on who the heck Ahsoka actually is, and apparently her whole entire supporting cast. So, I, for one, have not watched Rebels. So
really,
I have not. So watching Ahsoka was kind of I actually had to make sure that my son was in the room watching it with me, so I could say, "Who's this? Catch me up on this guy. Catch me up on this. Have we met this guy before?" And that was, it was a little bit of distraction, but I actually thought the first 2 episodes were rather good. So, Johnny or Lucas, I'm sure you guys have watched Rebels. So why don't can you catch me up and say?
All right, okay, yeah. So Rebels is the cartoon show that's set before A New Hope. It is features Ezra as the Jedi wannabe. He has a master. Syndulla's in there as the captain. The droid Chopper's in there, and of course Sabine is there as the Mandalorian artist stroke detonist expert, if that's the word. And as the season progresses, there's an element of will they, won't they with Sabine and Ezra. Ezra sacrifices himself to take down Grand Admiral Thrawn down the line, and both go missing from the galaxy. So that's kind of where we are right now. Ahsoka at that stage had been ostracized from the Jedi Order after Clone Wars, and was kind of just parleying along the universe as she does. That pretty much sums it up. Now they're looking for a map in Ahsoka that's going to find the bad guys want to use the map to find Thrawn, and the good guys want to use the map to find Ezra. Because they're both in the same place, allegedly. And between that, we find out that Sabine also has fledgling Jedi powers, which I have to say, even though I've seen Rebels, I'm a little bit like, really? I mean, this chick, she's done it all. She's been Mandalorian. She's wielded the dark saber, so therefore she rules Mandalore for a little bit. And now she's a Jedi wannabe. I'm like, come on, how many times can one character be so many different things? I remember J. Michael Straczynski saying one of the best things that happened to Babylon 5 was that they had to replace the commander from the first season. I love Sinclair. But at that point, if you follow the story through, Sinclair was going to be a religious leader. He was going to be someone who can bring peace to different factions, and he was going to be a great commander. Those like 3 different arcs that were going through the whole Babylon 5 thing. And no one's disputing that Sinclair makes a great religious leader. Spoilers alert, he turns out to be Valen. But still, you need Sheridan to be the guy that fights the war against the shadows.
Yeah.
I don't understand how Sabine is all the different things. And it's really disappointing that they've gone there.
So let me ask a question. So Sabine didn't have any kind of Jedi thing going on in Rebels?
Not to my
They were
knowledge.
well. I mean, I think at one point they were. That was the thing. They had a relationship. They didn't know each other. She was teaching her a few things, but where this whole schism went, where she went her way and the other go way. I'm not tracking all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is supposed to be a major point that we're supposed to like. No, oh, this has already happened.
Okay.
Oh, nobody's tracking this. Like,
Well, that's
why
the
should I
thing.
care?
Because since I didn't watch Rebels, and all this stuff was coming out with Sabine, with Ahsoka, or Ahsoka attempting to train her, and that kind of went off the rails, and Ezra giving her the lightsaber, and that she had made modifications to it and stuff like that. I just assumed all that stuff happened on Rebels. So
I'm imagining we're going to get a flashback episode. Episode 6 will be the traditional. This is what really happened between the two.
okay.
But as a whole, I'm with you. I didn't mind. I liked the first episode a lot more than I liked the second episode. And it was halfway through the second episode, I made a note to myself and I said, one of the things that Bud always hates about Star Wars universe, at least new Star Wars universe, is there's no aliens in it.
Yep.
And what I've noticed in this reiteration of the new Star Wars universe, there's hardly any men.
I did notice that too.
So,
I did notice that too.
So I'm all
But
for equality, as I've said a million times before. But equality is this equal, not this, not this, this. Equal is equal. That's what happens. The only male main character in there is the bad guy, who's a new bad guy, by the way. Someone who gets introduced and we're supposed to know who he is. Other than that, every other male character is a doofus. It's like I'm all for empowerment. I'm all for that. But where's if you're going to bring Clone Wars in, where's the alien monster, the alien guy they had who was based on the original Chewbacca thing from Rebels? I can't remember his name. Zeb. Where's Zeb? Where's Zeb? If you're doing Rebels cast, he should be in here.
Zeb showed up in Mandalorian season 3.
He did, but he should be in this.
He should be. So I was expecting that to be kind of like a cameo introduction to him, and that he was going to show up here. And he may. We still have several episodes left of the show, so he may show up.
I mean, the Clancy Brown character is just useless. And I'm all for Time Lords being robots, but come on.
But we have, I mean, they foreshadowed. We do have Ezra coming back, right? And then we're gonna have Thrawn.
Yes, he's gonna be back for about 2 episodes.
Yeah. So I mean, I have no problem with the female characters being centralized, but I think you're right. I think there were a lack of male characters in the first 2 episodes, like 100%. So, I mean, both the droids, right? Those are kind of male. Maybe not gender specific. I don't know. David Tennant did the voice for the droid, so
yeah.
Okay.
But so overall impressions of the first 2 episodes. They were good. I had a good experience.
I thought they were all right. I am a little bit wary of Ahsoka being so wise and calm, because the Ahsoka that we've seen up to this point is a little bit headstrong and just goes and does things. This one's kind of like a more, let me think. Whereas Ahsoka in the past was like, just gone for it.
So you're right. So there's several things, right, that's wrong with how they're trying to develop this character. Like, because you're talking about like how she's calm and whatever, but she's passing herself off as kind of like a Jedi monk type thing. But the thing is, she didn't finish that training.
Right.
So while they're asking her like, "Hey, how come you don't have a Padawan and everything?" Once again, she's not an actual Jedi. She was training to be a Jedi, but she's not an actual Jedi yet. And for them to try, force, a Padawan onto her, that's kind of crazy.
Force.
It's like it's right. And she constantly says, "Hey, and there is no order anymore. There's no order anymore. So why are you trying to force her to teach somebody when what's she going to teach her to? Just to train her? And then what? Then she go. There's no order anymore. There's no thing anymore. And what confuses me is just talking about, hey, she's trying to stop a war, but if the other side is gone, right? Like, who are you trying to stop a war with? Like, unless you actually have some intel that they're already out there.
So this is another great point you bring up, Lucas. This is set in the Mandalorian time.
Yeah.
So it's set before The Last Jedi. I'm not sure how much actual ramifications will occur in this series because we've already seen the future. We already know what the future is going to look like, right? Yeah. Unless they're building the Star Killer, which they're not because they called it the whatever of Sion, the Eye of Sion. Then, and unless smoke appears at the end of it, there is absolutely no impact on this. This is just
right. Because from this, people have been actually from Rebels. People have been wanting an explanation of, while all this other stuff is going on, where are these main characters you got? That's what I'm expecting out of Ahsoka. I'm expecting her expecting. Where was Ahsoka Tano while Rey and everybody else was running around doing their thing? She should have showed up at some point, but she never does. So she's probably dead. It's probably hidden some book somewhere that I haven't freaking read. But I want this to freaking close it out and say, hey, either she's still alive or she's dead. I want an explanation. I don't want to wait till like season 2, season 3, and then they come up with another crappy movie or something.
Well, this might be an opportunity for them to actually expand the universe, literally, right? Because we saw in the second episode that this is their galaxy, and then they showed where Thrawn and supposedly Bridger were being held, which is a totally different galaxy, right? So
good point. So while Johnny was
start establishing that, stay there,
right? Yeah. So Johnny was giving a summary of basically the whole big piece of what Rebels was, right?
Yeah.
But the things that got to mention was some of the other elements that were in Rebels that they've actually kind of given hints and Easter eggs to in this one, such as the Dathomir witches. Right?
Dathomir doesn't appear in Rebels first; it appears in the book called Princess Leia.
Yes, that's very true.
Just want to put it out there. Dathomir is a literary Easter egg, not a Rebels Easter egg.
But I mean, unless you're all into that other stuff, then
which I was at the time.
Then there's the hint of the mother, the mother, the father, the brother, and the sister. Right? There are these god-like entities that are inside this hidden dark dimension out there. There's hints of that in here, and the last one that's the biggest piece is the Thoyor. The Thoyor are the ancestors of the Jedi that taught the actual Jedi and the Sith like how to do what and how to actually use the Force. That's what the temple was. That temple wasn't a Dathomir. It's a spaceship. It's a spaceship that later people turn into temples, right? That all these little Jedi temples that's running around, that's all out there, they're actual spaceships that people turn into freaking temples. And the little beings that were in the red and everything that was on the wall and everything, those are the Thoyor. So I'm glad that they actually finally put that out, and people aren't tracking where that's come from, because that's where all these spaceships come from. That's where all this nice technology comes from. that comes from this race.
My wife said she's tracking what you're saying a little bit. When in the second episode when they go to the temple stroke spaceship to put the map in to Indiana Jones it up, my wife goes, I don't understand why they're playing all that bad guy music. We can tell the bad guys they're wearing black and it's raining on the world. I'm like, yeah, you're pretty much right. Always rains on the bad guys. You're right. That's exactly it. That's exactly it, Pet Lamb. She's not wrong. She is not wrong. We watched, funny enough, Attack of the Clones because I like the Camino scene, and I watched Attack of the Clones before I watched the second episode of Ahsoka. And at the end of that, Dooku's flying to his base on Coruscant, and the cityscape changes from being like a normal cityscape to everything's red. I'm like, yeah, we're in the bad side of town, guys. Buckle up.
Well, so I do think that they're doing some good things in here where they're kind of, I think, expanding the lore, or they're letting the casual fan in on all this backstory. So that's, I think, the good thing about this. The one thing my son did mention to me, he doesn't like Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. He says she's flat.
It's intentional, right? But the reason why they're doing it is weird, right? Once again,
Yeah.
The thing that brought people into Rebels was definitely her rambunctiousness, right? Her willing to just jump all over the place, do whatever. Got to be in a fight, but then she gets knocked back a few times because of her failures, because of her rambunctiousness. Like, hey, I need you to go over there, and I need you to go take that hill. And she goes over there, and instead of using her officers and her soldiers to take the hill, she tries to take the hill herself, and then freaking fails. That was the whole thing about Rebels. But now it looks like she's actually learned a few things. Through Mandalorian and all this other stuff. So now she's a little bit more calmer, a little bit slower to anger, and a little bit slower to just jump all over the place. So the question is, okay, now that she's got this actual question, she's getting ready to go into the fire again. Will they ramp up, or is she just going to stay flat and freaking timed as well? Or are they going to use Sabine Wren, who's not that much of... I don't feel she's got that much of a personality right now. Just because you quit, you decided to run out on a memorial service for your dead friends, does not to me give you a personality. I'm sorry. That just means you're an asshole. That's just that, but that's just me. Right? And they're pinning this on people liking Sabine Wren. Oh, because she's got red hair and she rides a space type motorcycle. Nah, that's not the way right now.
Well, that's when we were watching the first episode, and when Sabine got stabbed with the lightsaber, a la Qui-Gon Jinn. My son
She's not dead yet.
Yeah, and then of course, then you see the picture for the next episode, and she's right there on the front, and he's like, "Oh well, we know she's not dead." And then he looks at me and he says, "That kind of makes Qui-Gon a little bit of a bitch, doesn't it?" I'm like, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
But hey, apparently you can live from a lightsaber stab wound right through the gut now. So
all the way to the other side. It was through the kidneys, all the way through the other side, through the kidneys, through the gallbladder, all the way through the other side.
She's Mandalorian though, so
no back team, none of that stuff.
Well, my last comment on this show is something that I think we need to address, and I'm going to say it now. Who is the Inquisitor?
That is a question, but
is that the Inquisitor that showed up that fought?
Yep.
So the thought my son had was that it's Ezra.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thought which made me pause, but then I was like, you know what? I don't know anything about Rebels, so I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, not to dish your son, because I'm not going to tell a lie. I actually thought the same thing at one point. But then here's the thing. If that's Ezra, that means they've already rescued Ezra from wherever he was. What the hell did they need the map from if he was where Thrawn was?
Yeah, well, they don't know he's been rescued, so...
No, but the bad guys do. If the bad guys know that that's Ezra, then then
Oh.
why do they need the map to find where Ezra was?
Well, maybe the bad guys don't know it's Ezra.
No, it's not Ezra.
Yeah, I don't know, but
I mean, it could be. I mean, but
that's interesting, though, right?
I just think there are some little plot points that the whole idea of the Phantom being able to catch up with the big ship before it gets to hyperspace, to put the tracker on it. Yeah, comedy to see Chopper do his all little things and stuff, but really, it just the ship's twice as fast. I don't know the logic of it all. But I suppose you don't watch Star Trek for logic. Sorry, Star Wars for logic. That's what you watch.
No,
Star
you
Trek
watch
for.
Star Trek for logic. Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed, you do. But no, it's. I'm going to stick with it. I mean, I stuck with Obi-Wan, and I suppose my wife's final point on this is she watched this and goes, "It's not as good as Obi-Wan, is it?" I was like, "Well, no, maybe it isn't, but still." There you go.
It's fun though. I had fun, and that's what I wanted to.
Yeah, that's what I want.
All right, so we'll take a little bit of an early break. We're going to come back and talk some comics. Watch this ad from Crisis in the Toyverse. All right, make sure to check out Crisis in the Toyverse. Same time, same channel. You can find that. All right, let's jump to some new release Marvel comics that came out this week, and among them, smack dab in the middle of the fall of X, they're gonna have a throwback book. Jean Grey, Johnny. Louise Simonson back, huh?
Yeah, no. How good's that, eh? So Louise Simonson's on writing duties. Bernard Chang is on art. Marcelo Maiolo is on colors. VC's Ariana Meyer is on letters. And the cover of this book is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a better looking cover this week. At least not a better looking A cover this week than this. So we've seen a lot of alternative universes in the past or more recently. Especially if you think we consider the X world, we had the alternative Sinister world, and the hell when we started, we had the whole Houses of X through Moira's lifetime. So this isn't exactly a new idea. However, that said, because it's Louise Simonson, whatever, it's done absolutely spot on. This book absolutely works from page 1 onwards. We get to see the idea of Jean Grey as she's dying, looking back at her life and trying to work out where things went wrong. What could she have changed in order to have prevented what has unfurled? I thought it was pretty clever. I think the artwork works all right. The main crux, the main theory of the book is that if power corrupts, then absolute power corrupts absolutely, which isn't, again, a new thing. I get that. But to see her change from being, I suppose, nice, tame Jean to full control Jean just shows you a little bit that, you know what, it wasn't the Phoenix that went bad. It was Jean that went bad, potentially. Yeah. And of course, where there's Jean, there is going to be the Phoenix. So that comes out eventually as well. I liked the book. I thought the book was really good. I thought the idea of her trying to do the right thing all the time, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that's exactly what we have here. It's, trying to protect the humans, changing their minds, little mind swipes, little memory grabs here and there, to the point where she loses control and does something heinous. But no, I thought it was great. I think it's a good little book. I think it's interesting to see how it goes. I'm hoping that there is some sort of resolution to this, which will no doubt be the return of Jean Grey anyway.
Of course.
I don't want it to be a case of the same issue over and over, but no, I'm okay with it so far. I think it's I think this is on my pull list. When I first heard who was on it, I put it on my pull list. So if the comic shop remembered, because I did ask for it a while ago. So no, I thought it was a good. I think if you want a potted version of the X history, I think you could go wrong by picking something else. But this one does it for me.
Lucas,
With chicken dinner.
what are your thoughts
Yeah, I
on
mean,
Jean Grey?
Yeah, I mean, Johnny's hit it head on, but I'm in a different headspace because you guys know how I feel about heroes versus heroes. It's tired.
You
It's
love it.
stupid.
You love it. You told
I
me off the air. You said Heroes versus Hero was the best thing ever.
yeah.
When Titans
You know,
tussle, you love
it
those.
should in my opinion, it should only be used when you're trying to define the relationships in between the folks. Like maybe if it's like a lower level, lower level superhero, and you're not quite sure if they're good, you're not quite sure if they're bad, then you can use that hero versus hero to like define where they fall amongst their different philosophies. In this one we got her hurting, Magneto, and then she's hurting the rest of the team and everything, and it's weird. So who are these X-Men that we're looking at? Are these like the young X-Men that went back into like the past or something like that? So
Yep.
that's where we're doing. So that means that the X-Men, some of the X-Men are not actually absolutely extinct right now. So there's these, and then there's the actual real X-Men that they went off to the sunset somewhere, so they're actually not alive. But the clones are the ones that are actually dead, or scrambling through their assholes right now to fight back against Orcas while all the while planning a wedding. Weird. I don't know. It's too much stuff happening all at once, and none of it's lining up with a singular narrative that somebody was like, "Hey, what's happening with X-Men?" Well, it depends on which X-Men you're talking about. Well, tell me about Jean Grey. It all depends on what Jean Grey you want to know about. You're talking about the old Jean Grey, the new one, or the clone, or not the clone that's in hell, by the way. It's too much. It's too much going on right now, and this does not clarify anything other than there's still, there's still ethical fights in between each and every single one. Oh, and the Phoenix complicates things. I don't know. The art, I wasn't feeling the art for some of these things. Like the way Charles looked was kind of weird, really off. He looked like a shaved down Russian mobster. I didn't like the look that they had for Xavier or any of the other folks in here. I don't know when they started putting Iceman freaking clothes. I thought he was just running around buck naked all the freaking time, But hey, they decided to put weird uniform on him this time. Um, it's some of the covers are good looking, but nothing to write home about. Nobody was feeling this because again, if they were expecting people to be revived by this or any of these other stuff that they put out this week to say, hey, let's go back to the X-Men look, this stuff is not it. They need to go back down to remember when we just had Fall of X and House of X and that was it. They need to go back down to this because if it's the fall, if it's the fall and you're killing off a whole bunch of X-Men, go back to just 2 books. That's it. 2 books a month, just under 2 titles. That's where it should have went with this instead of having, or where were we at, like 10 titles, and I mean that's not including
Yeah.
Wolverine, Punisher, or Wolverine and Moon Knight and all this other stuff.
Well, so I'll jump in here. So the Jean Grey. Now this book actually surprised me. I wasn't expecting to like it, but I did.
Hey,
Hey,
2-1.
yeah,
Woo.
yeah. But the surprise really was I didn't know Louise Simonson was writing it or Bernard Chang on art. And these are a couple of, well, Louise more than Bernard, but this is a throwback, right? So we've seen Marvel do this where they're bringing back the writers from yesteryear to actually kind of play in the playpen with their characters again for a little bit. And having Louise come back to write Jean, I was expecting a not in continuity type retro, something that happens that's not really affecting what's going forward. But I got the totally different feel for this. So now we do have that Jean, Jean's dying. We know Jean died at the Hellfire Gala, which was just chaotic to me. And then with the backstory here, it almost felt like she was retconning a lot of stuff, didn't it? It didn't seem like it was a alternate reality version of what Jean would have done. It seemed like she was actually recreating what was going on with the younger X-Men that Bendis did several years ago. I thought that it was a really good deep dive into the back history of the character and really all of the confusing stuff that Lucas was bringing up. Like, you do kind of need a primer for Jean and for Scott and for basically all the X-Men. But this book was, I thought it was fun. It was like seeing what could have happened if Jean let herself do what she wanted, right? If she didn't hold herself back, if she didn't have Professor X there to kind of stopgap her, she was just off doing her own thing. When she took out Magneto, and she realized that that's what she could do. She could just make people think differently, and that changed the game. And I enjoyed it, and it's kind of funny that it's like you never really think of, they call her the Omega mutant, right? Is that what they call them, Omegas? But you only think of an Omega mutant as from the Phoenix side, right?
Yeah.
You never really think of her as an Omega mutant from the mutant side. So I actually thought, wow, this could open some doors. If jumping into the rest of the Fall of X, I am totally lost in it. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say it because I still do read most of it. I just don't get it. But like some of the books, like I just picked up. What was the other one that just came out? Realm of X. Is that what?
I looked at X-Force. I looked at X-Force before the pod.
Yeah.
Because I kind of browsed through stuff, and I looked at X-Force. I was like, I have no idea. And then the one with magic in, where she's coming out the portal.
Yeah, that's how. Is that Realm of X?
I'm like, whoa! I was like, you know what? I'm done. And do you know what throws me even worse is in this book, there's like a checklist of books.
Yep.
What the hell's the Uncanny Spider-Man?
Yep. Yep. So
like,
yeah.
So that's the one with Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is Spider-Man.
All right, okay. Because I was going to say we've got Spider-Man, we've got Amazing Spider-Man. To be fair, neither book's fantastic. Yes, I said it, all you Dan Slott fans. The book is not fantastic. Then, you've got a third no.
Yeah, and then we had Uncanny Avengers drop last week too, which I don't know. A lot of it is just like I get that this is like supposed to be the third act, right? So this is supposed to be the Shakespeare, everything, all the shit's hitting the fan. And, I thought the biggest, and you guys talked Hellfire Gala. I didn't get a chance to talk about it when last month because I was gone, but to have first of all, the team of X-Men that they elected in the Hellfire Gala was like, okay, I have no problem with you killing this whole team off. I mean, to have Jubilee and Dazzler on the same team, I was just like, they have the same powers.
Can you imagine Jubilee, Dazzler, and Boom Boom? Yes.
Yeah.
Let's have that.
It was a bit of a trifecta there, and it would have been perfect. I was like, I have no problem with either of those characters, but if you want to kill off both of them, I'm fine with it. And just like, I could care less. They made such a big deal out of all like, oh, they wiped out the whole X-Men team. I'm like, oh, well, go back and see who that X-Men team was and see how much you care. Cannonball.
Yeah.
When was the last time Cannonball was relevant? So
I remember they
whatever.
were saying it was going to be one of the externals. Do you remember? One of the
Back
12.
back in
Like,
1992. Yeah, I remember that.
It was saying like there was 12 mutants that were going to be classed as the externals, and
Yeah,
this is
and they
just
were
as
immortal, right? They were
yeah, yeah.
immortal. Yeah.
This is just when I was getting out of comics the first time around, to be honest, because there was that going on, which made no sense to me. And this Clone War with Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Clone Saga thing. Yep, done. That was when I left. I was like, yeah, I'm done now with comics for a while. So,
Well, yeah, in the early 90s, you didn't miss much. All right, so Jean Grey, I guess it's a good book in a bad environment.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's here's what I was looking for from this book. So in the lore of the whole Phoenix thing, whenever the person dies or whenever the Phoenix takes over, that person gets transported to this other dimension and is just seated on this planet until it's time for that person to come back. I was hoping that they would go into that and that would explain what's happening with some of these Hellfire Gallop people because remember there was that whole Phoenix trial way back when they had a whole bunch of superheroes and
and the pages of Jason Aaron's aborted
I
Avengers.
was like, okay, maybe that's a thing. Like instead of killing them all off, they get transported by the Phoenix to this until they like find some other bodies or something like that, and then the Phoenix can just like bring them back. But nope, that's not what's happening here. In the meantime, I don't know where Echo's at. She's running around with Daredevil and she's not affected. I there's so much stuff going on with all these mutants that seem to be affected and not affected. I just don't know.
Yeah, I believe the Phoenix Force left Echo in the pages of her limited series from a few months ago.
Well, according to the lore, it never really totally leaves you.
Yeah, they leave that there for some other writer that doesn't have an idea to come back.
Right. According to the lore, every time your soul or your body goes there, a little piece of you is left behind on that freaking planet. That would have made sense to me for the reason of this book, but instead they went off on some other thing. So you immediately made me not care.
Well, I'm actually glad Louise came back because I liked her doing X Factor and she was great on Power Pack and all that stuff. So
I love Power Pack. Don't be dissing Power Pack.
I was not dissing Power Pack. I love Power Pack too. I wish Power Pack would come back.
I agree.
Age him up a little bit. I think that would be cool.
Do you guys have
kind of like a New Warriors?
Do you have copies of the first appearance?
Of Power Pack? Yeah. I do. I have the first issue of Power Pack. Yeah, sure. All right, let's get away from the mutants. Let's go to
the other mutant.
Oh, the other, yeah, soon to be revealed as a mutant, Captain America. They did bring him back from the egg, right? So maybe. Yeah. Captain America finale. #1, and this is I guess this is the last issue of the current iteration of this book because it's getting rebooted with none other than Johnny's favorite writer, J. Michael Straczynski, as a writer on Captain America, and I'm just throwing that out there because of your love for Babylon 5, Johnny. So
I do like Straczynski. I think some of his Spider-Man stuff spot on. I'm not gonna lie. But we'll see how it goes.
Did I tell you about the time I met J. Michael Straczynski?
Yep. So funny. Tell it again because it's so funny.
So Babylon 5 was my dad's favorite TV show, and my dad sadly passed away a long time ago. But we used to watch Babylon 5, and he used to love it. So when I got the chance to meet J. Michael Straczynski, and I walked up to him and I said, Mr. Straczynski, I really just want to tell you this. My dad loved your show. Loved Babylon 5. It was like the show that, after Star Trek gave him like the most joy. And he was, oh man, thank you so much for saying that. Buy my book. I was like, all right, I guess see you later. So Captain America.
Didn't you buy the book?
It was $100 in cash. He couldn't take credit. So I told him I'd come back, and I didn't go back. So it's That's on me. That's on
No.
me. So yeah, I didn't really want to read it that bad. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to. I wanted to tell him how much Babylon 5 meant to my dad, but
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably hears that a lot. So. All right, so Captain America finale, writers of Jackson Lanzing, Colin Kelly, art by Carmen Carnero, colors by Nolan Woodward, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. And if you didn't like it, the editors are Caitlin Lindved and Alana Smith and Tom Brevoort. Oh, hey, we didn't mention Tom Brevoort's leaving the Avengers title to take over the X-Men titles. Did you know that?
No.
No.
Yeah, he's been on Avengers for over 20 years. Did you guys know that?
No.
He's been the Avengers editor for over 20 years, and he's leaving the Avengers to take over the X-Men.
Wow.
So, yeah, and of course, I think we all wonder when the last time an actual Marvel editor actually opened a comic book. So we'll see. Maybe he'll prime himself up, and we'll see. Maybe he'll get rid of all this fall of mutants and stuff. So I'm ready for a change, to be personally honest with you. All right, so this is the finale for a reason, right? Because this has been a storyline that's been going through the Captain America books for the last 6 months to a year, with the Outer Circle, where the Winter Soldier Bucky apparently betrayed Cap to infiltrate this Outer Circle group, to supposedly take over the world, and where everybody else in Captain America's life thinks that it was an actual betrayal. We all know that Winter Soldier is actually, kind of working from within. So we kind of saw Winter Soldier's character kind of get dragged through the mud. But this is the end of the storyline where these. Have you guys been reading Captain America? So
I kind of I drop in and out.
these characters are super forgettable, right? These outer circle people. I forget who they are from issue to issue and have to kind of catch myself up.
Just like the Machine, the Trust.
Whoa! Let's not get disparaging machines. Thank you very much.
Well, the Machine is a sexy black woman in this.
Yeah, they're all parts of.
Yeah,
they're all parts of society, or representatives, avatar representatives of the society and the way society works, and they're collaborating to either end the world or start a new world order, because the current world order doesn't work. They decided that one of the linchpins of doing what they need to do was Captain America's son, who they kidnapped at one point to move the story along, which brought Captain America and the rest of the freaking crew with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they returned to this storyline from what is it, 10 years ago, more than that, probably 15 years ago, where they went to this universe that was basically an Arnim Zola's universe, where he was creating all these all these different kind of weird ass creatures, and Captain America and Sharon, they were both stuck there for a long time, and then he's not really Cap's son, but he was a boy that Cap took under his wing there as a survivor and basically raised him, and so they were there in continuity purposes. They were there for 10 years. And then when Sharon came back, Sharon actually stayed there longer. And when she came back, she was old. And of course, Cap didn't age because of the serum. But that's, then they brought back who is now Nomad, Cap's son. And here in this book, they don't really spend a lot of time with him, but he does kind of come in with the wolf howling commandos. I kind of thought that was a kind of a funny touch. For the most part, if you haven't been following this book, there's no way you're following it. There's the Destroyer that was killed off earlier on in this storyline, and I would venture a guess that probably the casual reader would have no idea who the Destroyer even was. That's a throwback for any Golden Age aficionados, or even if you were a fan of the Invaders back in the 70s, Roy Thomas had him come in for a bit. But this character showed up for a hot minute, was killed off, and now Sharon is the new Destroyer. That's about the only kind of movement that we had for this storyline was, hey, we have a new Destroyer. That's all I got out of it.
So I think you're being really harsh. I really do.
Okay.
I read this book, and I think it's really hard to write Captain America right now. I
think you're right. I think you're right.
And I think sometimes it's with the world as it is now, it's hard to get that patriotic stand-up character. But this book, he's a guy who basically stands up and is countered every time. When the chips are down, he will stand up, and he will stand up for what he believes in and for the friends he believes in, as evidenced with how he deals with Bucky later in the book. This is pure Captain America. It's everything you want out of this character delivered in a way that reiterates the Shield for what it is, rather than the token political statement it was at the start of this run, with the points on the table. I think the art's okay in places. I don't think you need all the robots, and I think that's just page filler. But the whole thing, and even the twist at the end where they send the bad guy to Doctor Doom for a kicking, I mean that's pretty dark. But for me, I mean, this is pure Captain America. It is pure do the right thing, believe in your friends, and follow through. I don't know how anyone could actually dislike this. Dislike that. I will say I did love the HAL imagery from 2001: A Space Odyssey on page 17. There's a whole, the red bleak and light thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I missed it.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
fine.
2001. Yeah, I missed this 2001 reference.
May I just present to you then, and you can see what I mean?
No, I see. It's like the tentacle,
blinking eye, right?
tentacle robot.
Yeah, the eye at the bottom, page 17. It's how. Are you in? Would you like me to open the door? But no, I loved it. I thought this book was solid. I really did. I thought maybe the whole run's been a bit wonky in places, but I thought this book was
yeah. Well, that's the thing is like I Captain America is my favorite superhero. You know that. So I always kind of take it for granted that he's going to act like Captain America.
I understand that, but when you think so many characters that we read about now do, I mean, it might have just been a timing thing, because I just read the Jean Grey book before reading this. So you've got Jean Grey doing what she thinks is the right thing for betterment, where you've got Cap doing the actual right thing.
Yeah. Well, the Outer Circle think they're doing the right thing as well,
and that's what makes a good.
They think they're the good guys in this whole deal, because the reason why they formed their group in the first place is because after World War I, with 6 million people died, they wanted to make sure nothing on that scale happens again. So that's why they formed themselves. Or if it does happen again, that's done in a controlled way where not that many people die.
And that's what makes a really good bad guy. That's what makes Doom so interesting. It's what makes Lex Luthor so interesting. These people don't do bad things for bad reasons. All Lex wants to do is protect his planet from aliens. That's all he wants to do. It just so happens that Superman's the biggest, baddest alien in his eyes that exists. Doom, he wants Latveria to be the best country in the world.
Right.
And everything he does is for his country. Does he go about it in dodgy ways? Hell yes. Yeah. Does he have an obsession with Reed Richards and want to bang his wife? Yes, he does. But still.
Didn't he actually bang his wife already?
I don't know. Maybe we should that should be a podcast for all time. The Many Loves of Sue Storm.
Who?
No kidding.
What's the name of the daughter? Because that's supposedly their
Valeria.
Yeah. Who is the baby daddy of Valeria Richard? You
know what? That's not a bad shout. I think Doom has something in there, doesn't he? Does he not?
Well, Doom's first love was named Valeria.
Yeah.
That throws a little creep on it, but.
Oh my goodness.
Anyhow, so Captain America finale, yeah, that's not a bad book.
That I will say this: I'm glad that arc's over. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Straczynski. I want to
Mm.
see what he has to say. I mean, he's been out of comics for a long time now, so seeing him back in, I'm kind of interested.
funny, my last Straczynski comment before we move on. I always makes me Straczynski and to an extent Josh Whedon make me laugh. They have these great big hits with Babylon 5 and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, respectively, and of course Angel as well. After that, both have tried so hard to capture the lightning in a bottle
Yeah,
and failed so often. You've got Crusades, you've got Dollhouse. You're like, oh man, Josh Whedon was out on his ear until he does the first Avengers movie, and even that, pacing wise, I mean, they're spending an hour fixing an engine. It's like Wheeler Dealers.
Well, they're reviving Babylon 5 as an animation. Is Straczynski the head of that project?
I imagine he is, but
yes.
it's out now, so I haven't seen it yet. The animation
Oh, it's
style
already
looks a
out.
bit
Okay.
yeah.
Do we
The
know what
animation
channel?
style looks a bit wonky. I'm not sure. It might be HBO. It's a Warner Brothers project, so
I will.
Warner Brothers.
I will be checking that out as soon as this pod is over because I didn't realize it was out. So
No,
I thought that was like years away or something like
no,
that.
I will be It's called The Road Home, I believe.
Huh.
There you go.
I guess that tells you how good it is by the fact that nobody's talking about it except for Johnny.
oh boy. All right, so
there is a lot of truth in that, Lucas. A lot of truth in that, sir.
So I guess we have a decision to make here. Do you guys want to not talk about Thor and come jump into the 10-minute warning, or
We'll
what do
do.
you want to do?
We'll
Touch
do
it real quick.
real quick. Yeah. I mean, all Thor, Al Ewing. You guys love Al Ewing. Martin Coccolo is on art. Matthew Wilson is on colors. VC's Joe Sabino is on letters. Alex Ross is on cover. I thought this was all right. Actually, I didn't. I can't believe I'm saying this. I've enjoyed all 3 books this time around.
Yeah.
I must be ill. There must be something wrong with me. The sun must be getting to me. No, I thought it was all right. Standard Thor stuff. I loved how he talked down the storm in the first act of the book.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That was that was pretty cool. And then it goes a little bit haywire towards the end, which is you'd expect for Al Ewing bringing the horror element into it. But
Yeah.
all in all, I was like, yeah. I mean, Thor's never going to be my first choice book in any shape, way, or form. But I thought it was an okay read. Yeah.
Lucas, what did you think of Immortal Thor?
So I was weirdly focused on the little where he goes to Midgard and he plays chess, and I can see that he actually got checkmated.
Really?
Yeah, he got checkmated because this king is on the other side, and the guy brings his rook all the way down. It's checkmate. The rest of the stuff, I'm like, okay, new villain, got it. But that's basically all these story books are now. I'm still because here the problem is 2 years ago they promised us that I don't know if you remember that poster or that freaking frame where Thanos has like this black obsidian glove and everything, right? So all this stuff was supposed to be building towards that, right? It then becomes revealed that the glove is actually a representative of his sister Hela, right? So that's what we're supposed to be building to is like how Hela becomes a glove, how the glove gets into the hands of Thanos, and what Thanos does with that to bring the end of the world or bring the end of the superheroes and turn them into zombies. But instead of getting into that, we're going on this other tangent right now that doesn't explain really anything right now. So that's my crux right now that I just don't get it. And once you're like, okay, there's this other storyline. Okay, for me, I'm just gonna sleep on this. I'm just gonna freaking. I'll peek every once in a while, but I'm not really gonna be focused on Thor anymore. I'm not putting any money into this.
Well, the idea that I had was like seeing Al Ewing, who, and you're right, the Immortal Hulk was fantastic, and seeing the Immortal Thor with Al Ewing, I was like, is this going to be like a horror book with Thor, or is this just going to be, he has some kind of idea? But what I've noticed, and this is we only get the first issue, was that he's introducing another a big idea where right at the beginning he says, that there are the 9 realms of Asgard, and now it seems like he's introducing a 10th realm, right? The Utgard Thor and the Utgard Loki, and like a different realm where the gods are, right? that's what it seems like, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like even the gods have gods, and that to me is a super interesting concept for me. So they've got me on board with issue 1. I liked the storytelling. I like the relationship between Thor and Loki. I like the Warriors 4 now. So I'm in for the next few issues to see where it goes anyway. So the only thing is that they have these last page things that they've got going through Marvel books this month, which is Jonathan Hickman's Gods.
Yeah, I've not been reading that. I've read it. I'm like, no, I'm done.
Well, I kind of think with especially with Thor, that last page thing about gods is kind of throwing a wrench into, okay, so what should I be reading? Should I be reading this one about gods, or should I be reading this one about? So it kind of confused me a little bit. But anyhow, I love the book, and I did pick up the Immortal Hulk omnibus that came out last week, which is fantastic. If you haven't got a chance to go get it, it's got all 50 issues of Immortal Hulk plus all the limited series and everything. It's got like 1,700 pages. It's a monster, to tell you the truth. To use a pun. So, all right, let's. We have 3 minutes to do our 2-minute warning. So,
all right. All right, we got some more villains Alex Ross action. This is a 100 sketch.
I love that. Love it. 60th anniversary of the Avengers.
And once again, these are the books that are on FOC this week, by the way. Dark X-Men #1, that was that Adam Hughes. There's going to be a second print for that one.
I'm not so keen on that one.
Second print of Death of the Venomverse #2. This was the first appearance of Kid Venom.
Yeah. Boo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done with all these variants of the same thing.
Yeah. And then this is number 5, Del Otto, Death of the Venomverse. Then you got your Invisible Iron Man #10. There's a 1 in 200. And then, but the ones that people have been keeping their eye out on is that one to the bottom right. That's the 1 in
Have they
50.
explained why Emma and Tony are getting married?
Not yet, but let's look at the book on the pod and let's find out.
Okay.
I think it might be to do with thingy, is it not? Immigration rights. If she marries an American citizen, she becomes American, not Krakoan. I don't know. Maybe just as simple as that.
Maybe.
Or it could be a merging of the two companies because she still deals with the transport.
But can you marry something that is not human?
Yes. However, man, you've seen you. I don't mean to be like. I don't want to be nationalist on this, but I'll see you Americans marrying your cars and your dogs and your cats and all sorts of crazy crap like that. Yeah, I'll see that happening. Yeah,
it's not legal.
All the time.
It's legal. It's not legal. It's not
you
binding.
tell that to the guy who's trying to bang his own car.
There's people out there marrying trees and everything.
Yeah, so there you go. You answered your own question.
You got to run up the tailpipe. Is that what you?
Well, only if you use the right amount of lube. All right, carry on.
Jean Grey #2, 1 in 25. There's an Echikuri, and then the bottom left is that Peach Momoko. Looking terrible. Moon Knight, City of the Dead.
Anyone care that Moon Knight's dying?
No, he'll be back next month.
Here we go with Miss Marvel #2. This one is a 1 in 100.
It looks like Mad Magazine.
I think I am done with Miss Marvel. Not because I dislike the character per se, but I don't like the whole killing her, bringing her back straight away, and all that sort of stuff. It's like it's contrived to the max. And
money
you know
grab.
what? Yeah, I'm done. If that's how you treat your fans, then you know what? I'll treat you the same way, not buy your book. Simple as.
Yeah.
Star Wars Dr. Aphra.
Oh, Is Ahsoka going to be in that, or is that just because Ahsoka hasn't appeared in any Marvel Star Wars stuff?
Really?
No.
X-Men Days of Future Past, Doomsday, Matthias Manhini.
A book that doesn't need to be written, but never mind. Okay.
That's true.
Here's the stuff that's coming out this coming week, August 30th. Death of the Venomverse #5, Del Auto, the other connecting cover for this one. Weapons of Vengeance, Wolverine. Looks like Wolverine is mixing up with Ghost Rider.
I'm out.
Ultimate Invasion by Qua.
Mm.
This one is a Dark Horse book, but it's a Marvel IP. Star Wars Hyperspace Stories, Wrath of Kylo Ren.
So wait, Dark Horse is publishing Star Wars stuff?
So these are stories that are aimed at the younger reader.
Got it. Okay. So they let Dark Horse do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spider-Man India, John Jing. Mandalorian.
Go back one.
Alex Moise.
Do you think Spider-Man India? Do you think he gets into trouble when he doesn't deliver the courier on time, the way that our Spider-Man gets into trouble when he doesn't deliver the pizza on time?
Probably.
I'm just,
Yeah. I don't know. Do we figure out whether he's got a second job or not?
Who knows? I wouldn't know because I'm not reading it. As I said, I'm done with all that sort of stuff.
Then here's your Miss Marvel #1, The Starger.
I just don't get how they can take Miss Marvel away from being like, "Ooh, I'm such a fangirl of Captain Marvel," to "Ooh, I'm such a fangirl of the X-Men," when she didn't know they really existed.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Moon Knight. This one is an EM Gist, or excuse me, this one is an Alex Maliv. And lastly, to close this out, Marvel Age #1000, Greg Land 1 and 100.
So what's Marvel Age supposed to be? Because when Marvel Age used to be published, it was a news book. It was a news print. Pretty much, this is what it was. It's basically your solicits for the next month. That was what Marvel Age was.
It was a promo book, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This one ain't free. I can tell you that much. It's got a price to it.
All right. So I'm sure it's probably like Marvel Voices.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I hope it isn't, because I tell you what, in the Marvel Voices, they put so many characters on that cover that they don't actually appear in the book.
Yeah. Well, I don't think this one needs to have Venom in it. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was good. 2-minute warning in 7 minutes. That was great. So enjoy.
Hashtag Saki much.
Enjoy the rest of your summer, guys. I'm going to Disney World, and
Bud's won the Super Bowl.
So here's a question: Are you going to build your own lightsaber?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I could, but I'm definitely going. I will definitely report back on the greatness that is the Star Wars land over there. So
nice. Photos.
Yep, that's why we're going. So, so next recording, we'll talk about Ahsoka, and I'll talk about how much better it looks in person than on the green screen.
Nice.
Fair point.
All right, gentlemen, enjoy your week, and until we see you again, stay safe.
Adios.